Well, isn't this interesting? Just 1 week after Marcus Leto, co-creator of Halo, said what if the Halo remake incorporates all of the cut missions, content, and ideas that were on the cutting room floor. And then 343's dig site team, the team they employ to restore cut Bungie era content from the first trilogy, released the exact story that would have been in Halo Combat Evolved. From assassinating a prophet to Covenant excavation sites, the original Halo Combat Evolved story had so much more to it. Unfortunately, and this happens a lot in game dev, due to time constraints, a lot of it didn't make it in. The timing of this information is crazy, so today we're going to go through exactly what Halo CE could have been, and it very well may be the story that 343 goes with for the remake of Halo Combat Evolved. I also have to say, so many other cool pieces of information came out today. It's probably the biggest release of old school Halo information in years, and I cannot state that enough. The blog post 343 and the dig site team released is over 16,000 words long. It's massive. There's cut content from every single game, a brand new Halo 3 vehicle, cut maps from every title, and even a poster of Halo before it was Halo Combat Evolved. The post on Halo Waypoint today has everything. If you do have some spare time to check it out, I would highly recommend it. The dig site team even went to the effort to create all new Honor Guard brute models. Image on screen, they look amazing. With that said, let's get to why we're all here, the original Halo Combat Evolved story. The following information comes from Joe Staten himself. It's a document of the first Halo games levels and the key plot points from each of them. It is dated the 24th of January 2001. The campaign is also cut into 4 parts: A, B, C, and D. For example, the mission order will go A10, A20, A30, then B10, B20, B30, all the way through to D. So let's get to it. A10, Mission 1, was the standard Pillar of Autumn level. No major changes there. The second and third dot points became the level we know as Halo. A20 included the crash landing area and the natural formation tunnel entrance when Cortana says her iconic line.
This cave is not a natural formation. Someone built it, so it must mean something.
A30, which would be the second half of the Halo level, actually had guerrilla war elements that were unfortunately cut out. This would have been so cool to have Chief and the Marines who crash landed fighting with guerrilla war tactics. In Australia, the first 2 Halo games were rated MA 15+, one rating below R18, which is adults and over, so Bungie could have included guerrilla war elements, and it would have been really cool to see. Following on from that, we have Mission A40, and Mission 4 is where the story starts to change from what we actually got. The 4th level would be an attack on a Covenant excavation site. Engineers would have been introduced here. In this level, there's a light bridge and Forerunner tunnels. I'm guessing this section Bungie actually used to bridge the A20 and A30 into one massive level. A50, Mission 5, was the retail version of Truth and Reconciliation, but it played out very differently. In this version of the level, there was actually a prophet, and there was an entire section dealing with the prophet's arrival. In this version of the game, Captain Keyes doesn't learn what Halo does from the prison guards, but from the prophet's address himself. This makes so much more sense, and it's such a shame it got cut. The prophets are known to make addresses to the Covenant. Think about Halo 2, Delta Halo, when Regret is making his sermon in the temple and broadcasting it to the Covenant. You can see that plot point that was initially going to be in the Truth and Reconciliation made it into Halo 2. From this point onwards, the campaign deviates a little bit from what we actually know. B10 is the start of the second part of the game, and it's the prophet assassination mission. The objective is to recover the key to the control center. Ironically, we got a prophet assassination mission as well in Halo 2. This very much seems like a plot point Joe wanted to explore, and he worked it into Halo 2's story so he could show what effect a prophet's death would have on the entire Covenant faction as a whole. B20, the next level, reads, with the prophet dead, the Covenant military accelerates occupation of the ring, as well as bolstering their forces in their campaign against the humans. B30 starts with Captain Keyes in response to the Covenant giving the human forces a rallying speech, which would have then led into the retail version of the Silent Cartographer. The actual objective you are going to reach changed during development, and as release of the original Halo Combat Evolved neared, Bungie finally decided on a map room. B40 is the standard assault on the control room level, but a fun fact is one version of the map took place around a volcano where the Covenant were trying to break into the control room with a proto scarab. That's pretty funny. I love the control room level they actually shipped, so I'm kind of glad the volcano idea was abandoned. Now, after the assault on the control room level, we know the Flood are introduced to the story. C10 is the start of the third part of the game, also known as 343 Guilty Spark, and it plays out the same way, but the swamp is completely glassed before you arrive. Obviously, this is the Covenant trying to stop the flood, and it makes sense as they were so afraid of the parasite. Maybe someone can do this with mod tools, but it'll be interesting to see just how the atmosphere would be different. C20 would be the library as usual, but in between the library and the retail version of 2 Betrayals, another level was planned. C30 would have been a level where you activate the ring's orbital defenses and call down particle beam strikes with Guilty Spark. Moving on from that, we have C40, and that's the retail version of 2 Betrayals, where Guilty Spark betrays you in the control room. No changes there. With that, you have the final quarter of the game, and it's slightly different to the ending we know. In the document, Joe Staten writes D10, Escape from Sentinel, Stunt Field Action Extravaganza Ending. This was partly repurposed into the Warthog Run in D40, The More, and it also explains finally why the Warthog Run is a 2 to 3 kilometer stretch in the Pillar of Autumn. That made zero logical sense. Now we know why. It is cut content from a different level. D20 is the retail version of Keys, and yes, you find him as a proto Gravemind. With all of that covered, we finally have D30 and D40, the ending to Halo Combat Evolved. And it's such a cool ending too. D30 reads as follows. Cortana calls all surviving Marines to retake the UNSC Pillar of Autumn. Everyone against everyone. In the blog post itself, it says we adapted this for the final mission of Fireteam Raven. And that's a really cool thing they did. D40, which is the retail version of the More, had many versions. One of the late versions, which actually had dialogue recorded, had you escape the ring on a life pod instead of a longsword. If there is a different version lying around on a disc somewhere, I would love to see it. If there's any original Bungie devs watching this video and you could upload it somewhere, even just as a video recording, that would be amazing. And that's it. That is the original Halo Combat Evolved story. So many plot points made it into future games, but on the other hand, many didn't. I truly think this would have made the game even better than it was. So if 343 is indeed remaking Halo Combat Evolved, this really could be in some way a story to follow. If you add in the key story points from Joe Staten, incorporate the 20 years of lore and new enemies like brutes, engineers, and even different flood forms, this, done correctly, really could be an improved version of the story we all know and love. The big question is, can they do it? Time will tell, I guess, but I particularly love the story point where Keys overhears from a prophet the purpose of Halo. It's so much better than just a random elite in a prison cell. It's also very interesting that part of the story with The More, the final level, has already been integrated into Fireteam Raven, so 343 is capable of doing it. I'm pretty sure they had Flood Juggernauts as well. For me personally, it's hard to not get my hopes up because this project has so much potential, but it needs to be done right. So let me know down in the comments below, what do you think of this different story of Halo Combat Evolved? What parts would you keep the same? What parts would you change? Leave me a comment, let me know. But thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed. I'll see you guys later.